Can I try something live on the podcast right now?
Yeah,
Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
Show me pictures of Seth Rollins' dick.
Here are
Seth
some images
Rollins.
of Seth Rollins' dick I found on the web.
So episode 266 of the Juggalo Report.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the inaugural 2015 episode of Smarkamania. That's not what I wanted to say at all. Hello.
Almost nothing about
Yep.
that sentence was correct.
Nope.
Welcome was okay. I was all right with that.
Hello, Wrestle Club, and hello, Mega Powers. This is episode 9 of Smarkamania, and what we decided to do on this week's episode is review NXT Rival. And what I want to ask you guys off the bat is, how did you feel about the fact that they sort of took the Arrival and they sort of took the fact that it was the NXT takeover and they sort of mashed that up and just covered over AR and just made it NXT Rival?
Returning guest Michael, how did you feel about that?
I don't love it. Last time they did Our Evolution, which is a really bad, like, cheesy pun, and I think they just did it again and just stop it. I don't know. I don't need puns all the time.
It's been weird from the get-go, right? They had Arrival, and then they had Takeover, and then they started becoming Takeover : different things. Takeover, what was it, Fatal 4-Way, Takeover, Our Evolution, whatever. Yeah, and like, me and Jason were talking about, like, I wonder what NXT's WrestleMania will end up being. But it's not going to be any of these names.
No, actually, like, legitimately, it'll probably be Takeover.
Yeah.
Takeover seems like what they keep calling it.
How about NXT TXN? Whoa, total,
Michael.
non-stop ends. you know what I'm talking about.
That was a racial slur, and you know it.
I'm coming to get you, NXT.
So let's just break down. We watched the pre-show. Nothing really happened, but what we have to talk about is the fact we got hyped because of the pre-show. The
Yeah.
pre-show made us, like, ready for all these matches. And they sort of ran down the card. That was pretty fun. But
You know, if I could take a step back, I watched a little NXT here and again, but really, I think this is how it was for a lot of people. But for me, NXT really caught on because young Jason here texted me and was like, "Dude, Our Evolution was real good. You should watch it." And then I did, and I was like, that was real good. I should start watching NXT. And ever since then, I haven't missed an episode of NXT, and I'm super into it. And I feel like, just the Kevin Owens and Finn Balor was already there, but, like, being there, I feel like this is when NXT's really just, like, cranked it up a notch.
we're in literally the golden age of NXT right now, where you see all these, like, superstars really getting over and really being able to create their own characters for themselves, despite the WWE. We are seeing a lot of that happen, and the best part of it all is mostly the matches that happened tonight.
Yeah, like, obviously El Generico was like, I'm tired of being respected on the indies. Can I be a guy who just gets the shit kicked out of him real bad? Like, real bad. People will like me. And it's working. Everyone loves him, and he gets the shit beat out of him real bad.
That's what happened throughout the night too. We really saw a lot of the underdogs sort of just get beaten tonight. I think tonight was for the traditional heel. I think we saw a lot of those matches that we thought the fan favorite would get over. But this is sort of the fast lane, I guess, and fast lane's coming, and if you listen to this in chronological order, you will see that this is the way it is. But my breakout point of the night was really the women's match, and we'll get to that.
So for you, Mike, is it also Our Evolution when you really caught on to the NXT fever?
Yeah, I think it was you. I think you told me that it was good, so I checked it out, and
Yeah,
it was
so
great. And I've been watching. I think I saw a few NXT things here and there, but ever since Our Evolution, I've seen every single one.
Yeah, it like went down the chain, because I feel like with NXT it would be kind of like with TNA, like I'll just tune in and it never quite catches me, so I drift away. And so NXT was kind of like that. Like, I'm like, well, this is clearly cool, but what is there to make me watch next week? Where I feel like just Kevin Owens by himself, just that storyline.
Yeah.
Because I love Finn Balor, but he doesn't really have storylines that much.
And that's where I sort of where I sort of identified with the fact that this particular episode of NXT was called Rival. I felt that all the matches tonight were like feuds, like actual feuds, like grudge matches.
Yeah, I mean, Hideo Itami got fucking punched and then kicked by Tyler Breeze. That, you don't get past that. They're enemies for life.
How do they write this stuff, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it sort of writes itself at the end of the day.
Do you remember, Mike, were you watching when, I always love this one because it's like a great example of if you don't have time to write a real feud, to at least do something funny, where it was before Kane lost his mask and Jericho was backstage and he just spilled coffee on Kane and he goes, oops, I hope I didn't burn you. And they fucking feuded for like 6 weeks.
Was it before or after Shawn Michaels lost his smile?
Oh, it was far later.
After, yeah. Much further after that. So basically, we've sort of gotten over the fact that the pre-show has happened. The pre-show was good. It was
I think especially because it's like a short, it's a little 2-hour pay-per-view.
And
it's
I
nice.
just keep thinking about the fact is we right before this we watched the lovers do's and don'ts or whatever the fucking that stupid.
Don't say we. You were watching that.
I was trying to get you guys to watch it, and it sort of ties in because the NXT guys were commenting on old lovers quarrel gimmicks that happened on Raw, and I thought that was interesting to see that like phase over into the next event that we were currently watching,
Which is like the heterosexual life mates battling.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like watching like the reality television version of WWE, which is obviously Divas. Fucking Divas, man. That show, you should just watch it. Like, no matter who you are listening to this right now, just watch that show. Watch like 5 episodes. Like, don't even skimp. Like, don't even watch Legends House and be like, oh, those are old classic wrestlers. No, watch Divas. It's a great show.
And you know what's interesting about? Have you seen it at all, Mike? You seen fucking
Divas? No, not at all.
I've only seen a few of them, but it is totally like, just from an editing standpoint, it's like a show for girls, but in a double sense where it's about a bunch of women, but it's the whole music is just bathed in music that could be like dance club music.
Yeah,
and it never stops.
It's not like dubstep, like wah, 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 wah. It's like doon 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 doon, and it's like, oh, my husband, who's Daniel Bryan, like he doesn't want us to put up barbed wire fence, and the neighbors might be mad at that because I'm Brie Bella, and I'm sure I'm paraphrasing there. But literally that is a storyline that happens on the show. Like Daniel Bryan their place gets robbed, and Brie Bella's first instinct obviously is to like, let's get a security system. But for the producers of the show are like, what if you guys got like barbed wire and put that up, and then make it a whole thing where like, well, Daniel Bryan's mad because you put in all this barbed wire without me fucking noticing. Like that is an actual storyline.
You know, though, it wouldn't have to be an hour long. It could have been a half hour if they would just cut out where they're like, coming up next, and they show the whole next segment, and then they show it again after the commercial.
But you're subtracting the storyline where Rosa's super into Paige, and they have to have like a kiss on screen, and then Paige does the old. Do you guys remember like when you guys were in grade school and you'd really like a girl, and then when you finally kissed her, you were kissing her, and she was just like, ugh.
Can I replace girl with boy in this?
Yep.
All right.
I knew you were gay all along.
It's another Scott Pilgrim reference, that's all.
So what ends up happening?
And a gay reference.
Yep. So what ends up happening is Paige is just like, it takes 2 episodes for this to go down, but Paige is like, look, I'm friends with you. We're friends with each other. Like, we're going to go out there and we may have a match or 2 with one another, but we're friends. And, you know, it's Alicia Fox and it's Rosa and Paige, and they're all best friends with each other. So,
damn, that sounded like Paige was in the room with us.
Yeah.
Yep, that was my impression of Paige.
Yeah, Paige really is good, though. She's a natural. She's awesome on that show.
So anyway, I'm going to do my doodly duty.
Yeah, so this is a surprising amount of... Jason went out for a smoke, and I was just flipping through his book, and there's like pages and pages and pages of this. It's insane.
It's called the Page Turner, the PTO.
Paige. She's a wrestler.
Oh.
So this is NXT Rival. The first match on the card, of course, is Hideo Itami versus Tyler Breeze in the grudge match of the century, I guess. Is like this.
I guess. How did you come to that conclusion?
I came to that conclusion.
I mean, it's only been the century for a little while now.
Exactly.
15 years, yeah.
No, well, 15 years is not. It's like a blip. But really, it came down to the fact that Hideo Itami had lost, and basically Tyler Breeze was like, I could have beaten the guy that you lost to, or I could have beaten you.
I'm half man, all model.
All model. And he attacks him. And then they sort of just kind of go out there and have a match. And it's Hideo Itami versus Tyler Breeze. It really goes down like
You
this.
missed the most important part of, I think, maybe the whole night, is that Tyler Breeze had a furry selfie stick.
That's exactly what I was getting to. We were trying to decide, is he going to have the thing on the screen where he, like, puts himself on his own phone into the Titantron, I guess. He comes out to the ring with sort of one of those sticks that you what's it called when you have a GoPro. He had like a GoPro, but it wasn't a GoPro, it was his phone. Maybe just a GoPro. Maybe that's how they get it onto the screen.
It was his phone.
It's weird. I was gonna stay with Hideo Itami. It's weird because, like, I never really saw him in Japan, but it's like all these other guys they bring in, like Kevin Owens is like super well known in the North American independents, and Finn Balor is super well known in Japan, and I get it. I'm picking up on it, and with Hideo Itami, I don't feel it as much. I'm like, I guess he's awesome, but I haven't seen it.
He's
really
the
yet.
epitome of great in the ring and terrible on the mic. But it's not fair to say that about him because of the fact that he can't speak English so well.
Is there a possibility that being Asian, and as we know, Asian don't crack, right?
Yep.
Asian,
I think that's how the old saying goes.
Asian don't raisin. He could be 90 years old, and maybe that's why he just doesn't seem as
No,
spry.
that's the old that's the old adage that you can't tell how old an Asian person is because you can't tell how old an Asian person is.
Yeah, exactly. I knew there was some saying.
Yeah.
And there is also more to it than that. Tyler Breeze is coming down to the ring in his normal, he has his cell phone connected to a GoPro antenna, and he's looking at himself. And then there's a woman who just fucking runs out of nowhere, and she is the ultimate ring rat. She's the ultimate groupie, and she jumps right on him. And security has to come and help him out from that.
He was barely phased due to his Ken-like lack of genitalia.
It's true. He's all smooth down there.
He's half man, all model. He said it himself. The clues are all there. He's not even trying to hide it. Wouldn't it be great if we had a show where we only reviewed the entrances?
I think that's what's happening right now for Smarkamania episode 9. The most important episode of Smarkamania in February.
Just realized right now that outfit that Hideo Itami wears when he comes down to the ring looks just like Gabe from Penny Arcade when he draws himself as the cardboard tube samurai. It's exactly that outfit.
I'm just gonna push it more towards a reference that people will get. He looks like Scorpion without his mask on.
Yeah. Imagine. Oh, I'm not even gonna bring it up. It was like year 2000 WCW Frozen
Glacier.
gimmicks. Man, we don't need to go into it.
Glacier is awesome, but basically we sort of have a situation where they go back and forth a lot. Hideo teases the GTS. What ends up ultimately happening is Breeze gets a near fall with his kick to the face.
Known as the Febreze.
Yep, the Febreze. And, of course, Hideo wins with his running kick.
Known as the Febrizo.
Please.
Febrize.
Racism. So anyway,
By the way, how'd you feel about Asian don't raisin? That's gonna catch on.
Asian don't raise them.
almost
It's
rhymes.
like they hate us because they ain't us.
Oh, that's better.
Yeah. No, that's from the intro. And this is kind of like an interview. So anyway, really, what I wrote down.
Podcast, if you didn't know, Mike, our interviews with Jason.
Yep. That's what we figured out. But the next part that happens is we really just go back to the back, and William Regal just has like just that face on, like that sullen face, just like, oh, I can't believe that you're on your phone right now. And I'm trying to be like, don't kick him in the face too hard. And to translate that to you folks at home, it really is a shot of Kevin Owens sitting there on his phone and William Regal just looking at him with a sullen face. Like, that's what happened. Nobody has anything to comment on that?
I don't even know I fully followed what you were saying. I mean, I heard it was all great. Next point.
The following contest is scheduled for a no disqualification contest. Introducing first from...
Was it really no DQ? I didn't even notice.
Yeah, it was. That's why they were allowed to bring chairs into the ring. That's a little bit of time travel for you, but it was Bull...
Yeah, there was a chair that no one used, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Bull Dempsey versus Baron Corbin. Corbin immediately rushes Dempsey,
I like both gentlemen's music, by the way, as far as entrances go.
Well, we should use that in the intro and the outro.
Yeah, Bull will be the intro music and Corbin will be the outro.
Nice. No, don't do that. Okay, do that. So basically, what happens is the audience just gets behind, get the tables. They start chanting, "We want tables." There's a botch.
Oh, and that's when we realized, too, that there's only one side of the ring you can look under because the rest have the LCDs. I wonder, maybe there's two sides without LCDs. I'm not sure, but there's definitely some LCD action.
What I learned through watching the rest of the pay-per-view is I think it's the two that are on the camera side. They have the LCD.
Right. Yeah, because I guess it would be weird for the other sides to have them.
Yeah, like they never shoot from the other side. Or the hip. Or the HIV. So anyway, what basically happens is Dempsey tries to push Corbin over the rope. They botch it up, and this just like struck me as odd. After they botch that, after you're supposed to push the other guy over the ropes, Dempsey falls to the floor, Corbin falls to the floor, and then Dempsey just fucking comes barreling over. Do you guys remember that point? Do you guys remember that bit?
No.
That happened.
I do love though. Like I like your description of Bull Dempsey as like the chain chomp from Mario.
He is
because like it's so weird. Like I looked him up a little, and he doesn't have exactly a sterling record in NXT. He lost a lot of times, but I respect that he's like, all right, this guy Baron Corbin, who not only never loses, he usually wins in less than 10 seconds.
Yep.
But I'm gonna beat him, and then he gets his ass kicked. I mean, he did lead him to his first match that took more than 10 seconds. That was impressive.
What was your interpretation of what his win-loss was at this point? Because I thought it was literally he had lost. I thought they were 1-1. Dempsey and Corbin were 1-1.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it was like because they had a match and Bull lost, and then I'm pretty sure they were bracketed together in that number one contenders tournament, and Bull lost, and then tonight where Bull lost. But somehow it doesn't make me not like Bull Dempsey. It kind of makes me like him more. I'm like, he's crazy. Why does he even think he can win?
Well, you're not.
But like I feel like the booking for this pay-per-view or this event was really good, but except for that match, they got a guy who was like basically undefeated, who's like he usually wins like in 2 seconds, and then they just feed him a jobber, and it's like it's a pay-per-view. I don't know.
That is kind of weird, I guess, but I guess to the fact though that their first match together, that Bull pushed Baron Corbin into having to have a real match, and it wasn't just a 10-second squash anymore. That was kind of cool. So I guess this was just like one more try.
Dempsey gets a chair. Bull Dempsey gets the chair. He brings it into the ring. Nothing happens with it. And basically Baron Corbin does his follow-away slam sort of finisher.
Right. The fall of man.
Nope, that's the Ascension.
What is it? It's a name like that though, right?
That's what I was thinking when we were watching it. Like, it had to have been some sort of the Corbin of life.
Really though, what's it called? Do you remember?
The punch in the face.
Do you remember, Mike?
No.
What is this fucking... Shit, I can't remember.
Clothesline from hell?
Yep. It is like a backwards one. It's weird. The reverse clothesline. Shit, that's going to bug me, but I'll think of it later. But yeah, so surprising no one. Baron Corbin won. Yeah, it was still cool.
And I was also so sure that Baron Corbin and Bull Dempsey had like an even win streak towards one another. I didn't realize one was over the other.
Yeah, no, because I'm pretty sure old Corbin is still undefeated, because I don't think they would give up the streak to Bull.
No.
Bull Dempsey bread.
And I can't even think of a match in recent history where Bull Dempsey won.
Yeah.
I can't think
I don't think I've ever seen him win. I think when I was looking him up on Wikipedia, like when he first showed up in NXT, he won a few times, and then they were like, nah.
This fucking bowling ball.
One of the guys from Mario 64.
But I like how his music plays a riff and then everyone yells bull. I think that's cool.
Did it in a dent, did it in bull.
But are people yelling bull, or is it just the music?
Yeah, no, I guess
No,
not.
they're
just
trying to,
piping in Goldberg.
No, they're trying to say this is bull. This is bull.
It is a little weird that way. But I heard somebody say somewhere, I can't remember, but they were talking about how all you really need in WWE to get over is cool clothes and a cool entrance. And that's not totally wrong because, like, I always watch the entrances. If I'm pressed for time and I gotta watch Raw, I skip through a lot of shit, but I watch all the entrances.
I think the entrances are the best part of wrestling.
And if you have an entrance that's, like, actively annoying, like when Undertaker was a biker, that whole period, like, oh, you know, it's just like...
American Badass or whatever.
Yeah, brutal. That was when I first started watching again, too. It's like I started watching wrestling again. My cousin talked me into it, and I'm like, wow, Edge and Christian, amazing. Dudley's amazing. The Rock, super amazing. And then this weird biker shows up, and I was like, who's this guy? And my cousin's like, that's The Undertaker. And I was like, no. What are you?
That's not my Undertaker.
Yeah, like, because that was, like, right when I stopped watching as a kid. It must have been 91, 92, because I remember The Undertaker. And I'm like, what are you talking about? That's not possible.
Well, basically, to give you the entire history of The Undertaker, his name is Mean Mark Calloway. And Mean Mark Calloway's character was basically the Undertaker biker character. And then he came into the WWF. And they were like, let's give him... somebody wrote the...
Like, hey, Mark Calloway can do this cool thing with his eyelids.
Well, it was before the cool thing with the eyelids. It was more like, let's have this character that's like a zombie, like he's sort of an undead guy. And then they brought in Mean Mark Calloway. And they were like, you have the Undertaker gimmick. Like,
He showed
imagine
up and he's like, I can roll my eyes back and pull up my eylids, and I can eat my own scabs. Are either of those useful?
Well, we can use one of those.
I want the scab character in my fucking WW. But, you know, they gave him this character. They just, like, wrote a character down on paper, and they were like, oh, this guy's going to be, like, a guy that comes out, and he's a dead man.
Well, it's weird, too, because I feel like Undertaker was the tail end of and the only good version of the days when every wrestler had to have a second job. Either you were a tax man or a repo man or a race car driver.
Or you worked at a nuclear plant.
Was that one? Who's
Atom
that?
bomb, man.
Or a dentist.
Yeah.
Yeah, a dentist, or and then they're like, and this guy is an Undertaker. But that's the only one that worked and the only one that was cool.
But his character would end up being a guy that worked there and had like a pallbearer as his manager.
His name was also Paul Bearer.
And the thing about Percy Pringle, he actually was a mortician. That's why they hired him.
Really?
Yeah, it was based on, he was a manager in like NWA or something, and his previous work had existed in literally being a mortician. He had, like, the Pringle family legacy is, I'm pretty sure they're all morticians.
These creepy kids definitely looked like they could be.
Yeah, one of them died because of it.
Drinking formaldehyde?
Yep. Best drink in the world.
Eating scab corpses. Corpse scabs.
Old corpses Nick Scabberstein. That's a crazy inside joke. But basically, what ends up happening, which is the sentence a lot of people hear me say,
Uh-oh, he's stuck. He's stuck in an infinite loop.
No, just follow my logic. The Undertaker was unbeatable, and by the time he got to the biker gimmick, that was the true Mean Mark.
So Baron Corbin is unbeatable and is already a biker. So what could this mean? 22-1 before he loses?
No, he's going to get buried immediately. He's going to get buried Corbin.
That's just waiting. I almost want them to bury him now just because that's such a good name.
Yeah.
Fuck this guy. Yeah, I feel weird with Baron Corbin because he's pretty cool, but it's just a little thing. But he's definitely thinning. His hair's thinning, but he can't shave his head, which is what everybody does.
As somebody that's been like thinning in their hair, like every time he loses the hair, I fucking see it. And someday I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to be that totally jacked up biker guy who's coming down to the ring and he's just like, I'm going to fucking annihilate this guy. But his hairline is so receding that he just has to really just like calculate where he is in life.
Yeah, I mean, Hulk Hogan pulled it off just by starting bald, I guess, or whatever. Did he start bald? He pulled it off somehow. It was the 80s.
A better representation of that is Stone Cold Steve Austin. He started stunning Steve Austin. He started losing his hair, and he still had like the sort of comb over, but he is like really. He has the Hulk Hogan Asian short or Asian stringy long hair. And he ended up just shaving his entire head. You guys ever think about Stone Cold Steve Austin and his trajectory as a career? Like, he became his character. And as stunning Steve Austin in the WCW, he seemed like he was in developmental. And I would really like to get off this subject because
what
you
I was
guys keep
thinking.
looking at me like I have all the answers, but I don't know. Me and Mark Callis.
I was just thinking, with baldness, is there anything else you can do? Because, like, everyone who shaves their head, you know, Big Show, Kurt Angle, even Billy Corgan. I saw some unaired footage from an MTV special about the making of Melancholy, and there were occasional, like, back angles where I'm like, oh, that's why he shaved his head for the 1979 video,
Keith, can
because
I
he's
ask
so
you a
bald.
personal question? What does that have to do with wrestling?
Well, there's a lot of bald wrestlers, and they only go bald because their hair's thinning. And I don't blame them. I'm just like, what else can you do? Is there no other option? You just have to shave it all off?
At any rate,
I guess if anyone could have thought of something, they would have done it, right?
the following contest is scheduled for one fall, and it is for the NXT Tag Team Championships. Introducing first, coming out to dubstep music, Blake Murphy and Wesley Blake. And that's exactly what I wrote down.
That could be their names. I don't know.
I don't think that's their names. Their names are Blake. Can't be right.
That's what I wrote down. What you said they're different names
Yeah, that's-
before.
They're Blake and Murphy. That's their tag team name.
Blake Murphy and Wesley Blake.
They both have Blake in their name. I don't.
There's no way that's true.
That can't be right. It can't be right. You want me to look it up?
Isn't Blake Murphy LCD Sound System? What's his name?
What the fuck did you just say to me about some LCD system?
I just like, yeah, like that's the thing with these guys. They seem so boring. I hate their entrance music. I hate their entrance Titantron, their NXT-tron, NX-tron, and that
I
doesn't
liked
work.
NXT Tron better.
Yeah.
Titantron.
But that's the thing. They can't even begin to get over with me till I know what their names are, and they're not
What does
helping
NXT
me.
stand for?
Never exit.
Buddy Murphy and
no.
Wesley Blake,
Really?
Yeah.
Buddy? Really?
according to Wikipedia.
Fucking
And so-
Wikipedia.
Is Buddy Murphy the Irish one? I'm trying to start learning who
I don't
these
know.
people are. Scottish.
And their opponents, hailing from Mexico, Lucha Dragons.
Wesley Blake is from Texas.
Okay, so Buddy Murphy, because I like him better. I'm gonna at least remember him.
Oh, he's Australian. Melbourne.
Good day.
Melbourne.
Foreigners, including Canadians, are always the best wrestlers.
They're like the Mexicans of Australia. I didn't mean to say that at all. I just wanted to move on to the fact.
New Zealand, I think.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that is the Mexico of Australia.
What's the Mexico of Mexico?
El Salvador.
He's with complete confidence.
So Sin Cara, remember? Okay, let's talk about this exchange. Sin Cara botches a Hurn Karana, and then Kalisto immediately botches a jump to the outside splash.
Like they entered the ring with their usual amazingness, and I just was even just saying, like, these guys are the best. Like, for some reason I'm not super into them, but they're the greatest. I'll do everything great, and then they fucked up every move.
Yeah, they botched a bunch right off the top. But they were good. It was most of the match they were fine, but right off the top there's a couple of mess ups.
And the move we were all talking about was that that part where the sort of a leg scissors, and they did like a DDT with it
Yeah.
onto the mat with the
I wouldn't even know
foot.
what that's called, but I loved it.
The leg scissors DDT to the mat.
Sure.
It's weird too with those guys. Like, I feel like Kalisto is in a way kind of in a tough position. Maybe this is why Sin Cara is already on Raw a bunch. I can't imagine what Kalisto can do that Sin Cara can't also do and be twice his size.
If you go back and watch Kalisto's like indie endeavors, like it's way better. Like his wings are clearly clipped by being in the WWE.
Yeah, what is that all about? Like, they just don't want people to get hurt all the time?
There's a lot of moves that are just like blacklisted. Essentially, like there's a lot of like we won't see a pile driver outside of somebody like willing to get a fine. Last time there was a pile driver was John Cena versus CM Punk in like some Raw match for like a #1 contendership, which was a good, like, John Cena was always able to put on a good match with CM Punk and Daniel Bryan. You know, like John Cena is one of those adaptable wrestlers, but when he's the ring general in the match, it's gonna look like shit. So I guess that relates to what we're watching, where we're watching these two generic guys fight guys with like a luchador gimmick, and to see a move that looks like that and that feels like that, you know, when he did the scissors to the neck and slammed his head into the mat, and we heard that thud, that felt really good and that looked really good from a wrestling fan standpoint.
Man, you know what I just realized? I blew my own mind with this one. is like luchador gimmicks. They are generic in their own way because like, there's so many luchadors. And Buddy Cole and Jimmy John, whatever their names are, they are like the North American version of a luchador. Like they're just
to
here's
correct you, it's
anyone
Blake-
from the 80s is them.
It's Blake Murphy and Wesley Blake.
But yeah, just two long-haired guys in pants and in wrestling tights.
Yeah.
That's like our version of a luchador.
No, it was crazy. It was those two winning the NXT tag titles is very confusing to me. I don't know what they're doing with that, but it might be like, you know, the old adage holding pattern. Maybe like just put the belt on the guys that look the most like a tag team.
Yeah, or maybe they're like nobody else needs it. Like the luchadors are luchadors.
You
Fucking
can't
soft
bring-
is super over.
You can't bring guys up to the main program if they have.
Can't teach that.
You can't teach that. But I mean, who else is even left? Like Itami and Balor were tagging, but I think that's over now.
Villains.
Oh, the Vaudevillains, sure.
The
Yeah.
Vaudevillains are the future of wrestling.
I
Calling
believe
it.
that, but I don't think anyone else does.
Calling it now. So anyway, Blake,
It's
he's
just going to be like tons of people with vaudevillain gimmicks.
Yep. Well, that's where wrestling started, a vaudevillian act.
I guess, yeah.
But
Penny farthing stocks are going to go through the roof.
They do always say wrestling is cyclical, right? So yeah, it's got to come back. Just
Yeah.
carnival wrestlers and vaudevillains, and there you go.
I think wrestling is the most cyclical thing there is. What was that about Penny Drakes? Penny Furthingtons?
Penny farthings. I just want to see them ride into the ring, or ride into the thing on a penny farthing.
For all the listeners at home that don't know what a penny farthing is, farthing?
I think so.
Morgarity?
Yeah.
It is one of those bikes that's like a bicycle from the 20s that has a big wheel on the front, but not like a big wheel like we played with when we were kids.
They should just start. Oh, they should have made petty farthing big wheels, but they should just start adding to everything in NXT and making everything a big huge posse. Like they should have Alexa Bliss join up with Tyler Breeze as the super beautiful people. They should have a chick named Penny Farthing join the Vaudevillains. They should just keep making They should have Jane Doe join up with Blake and Blake.
Jane Blakerstein. So basically, Blake does splash and wins, is exactly what I wrote down. The fucking Basham brothers beat the Lucha Dragons, as far as I'm concerned.
Man, I remember it as a quick side thing because I'd forgotten about the Basham brothers till you brought them up earlier today. And that was one of those cases where they show up, they're so generic, so boring. And I remember thinking in the back of my head, like, nah, WWF knows what they're doing. These guys will be cool. Something will happen. Here we are. 12 years later, nothing happened and they weren't cool.
Nothing happened in the WWE until CM Punk. That's how I feel. I feel like the Attitude Era, and then like 10 years in a brand split, and like some like breakout superstars who are just back in the indies now, and Triple H. And then after that, it's like CM Punk, and now CM Punk doesn't exist, so Daniel Bryan. And that's sort of my timeline since Shawn Michaels.
I think I'm going to propose something. Wesley Blake and Blakeson.
Blake Stone.
Yeah, Blake Stone. I say they just rename them to Tag Team.
That would be so funny.
That's actually the best booking that I've heard ever.
You're welcome.
And yeah, while we're pitching ideas, I want Tyler Breeze to join the women's division. I think that'd
So
be
do
awesome.
I think that was a really good.
All right, so what was up next? Was this
Well,
Finn
okay,
Balor
I just
now?
want to talk about, nobody cares about Solomon Crow, and you all will in the future, but he's Sami Callihan. He was John Moxley's tag team partner. John Moxley would end up becoming Dean Ambrose, and he did his New World Order style, like, interrupt the program, and it was fucking, for me, was amazing.
Does he have glasses he pushes up?
Yeah,
Like, I'm
no,
a hacker.
you can go on to YouTube and look up NXT like performance review, like for the exemplary performance in speaking. I'm sure none of that makes any sense, but I keep talking. But what I can tell you is Solomon Crow has a hacker gimmick, and his hacker gimmick is him. They start to zoom in on him in a room, and he's talking about like, I'm going to hack, like a Batman gimmick or a Batman villain gimmick. So
Seems kind of similar to Y2J a little bit. He wasn't a hacker, but it was like those little promos with like the things.
it's true. We all wanted him to save us, and also, Bijou, break the walls down. The following contest is scheduled for one fall and is the final in the number one contender championship tournament.
Dude, you should see if Superkicked needs an announcer.
I know I could announce way better than that guy, but I'm not going to cut a promo on him right now. Adrian Neville versus Finn Balor.
Break orbit. Break orbit.
So the winner of this match gets a number one contender, right?
Smoke on the turnbuckle when Fowler entered the sky. Fuck.
Fine.
I blew it.
I liked it.
Oh yeah, I was into it. Sounds familiar though.
Finn Balor had wings. Finn Balor came out. He had an amazing entrance.
Oh my god, so good.
And what were we going to say about it?
I was asking, is this the last match of the number one contender, or is this for the number one contender?
This was the last match in the tournament for the number one
So
contender.
the winner has a title shot.
Yes.
The winner has to fight.
The winner of Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens in the main event.
I was gonna say
Whoever
it's
wins
to
that.
fight Daniel Bryan at Fastlane.
Yep. Everybody has to fight Daniel Bryan at Fastlane. If you lose any match tonight, you have to fight Daniel Bryan at
Is that
Fastlane
how wrestling
in
is?
succession.
I didn't tell you, Mike, but the three of us have to fight Daniel Bryan
Oh,
at
It's
Fastlane.
true.
All right.
Don't worry, we'll be fine.
I'll be great.
Yeah.
He's got this weird knee to the face move, but I don't think he's going to pull it out. Or his dick. Anyway,
Well, it's okay. Yeah, just let me and Jason run the match. I do all the offense, and he takes all the hits.
yeah,
That's
I'll
how
take
it
all the
works.
bumps.
And I'll just do the Mizdow shit in the background.
Yeah. Nice.
And do some hacking if you could.
Yeah.
It seems like it's big these days. People
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's a really good idea, you guys.
just hack into Tyler Breeze's phone to show pictures of Seth Rollins' dick, and Tyler Breeze won't miss a beat. He'll just be like, he'll keep doing his face.
Well,
I
because
love
Solomon Crow's a hacker, so naturally he was the one that put all of
Oh, yeah.
Roland's dick pics on the old internet. And it's really easy to get your dick pics on the internet, but if you're a WWE superstar, it should be hard to have, like, he's not really Brett Favre.
Did Solomon Grundy do the Sony hack?
It's not Solomon Grundy. That's also, like, Jesus Christ. Solomon Grundy did
Every time you say
the...
Solomon Crow, that's all I can think of.
Well, it's not Salmon Crow. It's Solomon Kroll. Fucking... At any rate...
So,
Finn Balor-
Salma Hayek's going to be big, though, in like a month.
Nick-
Sophia Vergara. Finn Balor came to the ring looking like straight up an anime character.
Yeah, I mean, I've always thought since about 2000 that I wished real life had entrance themes. Like, I would love it. And yeah, right now Finn Balor is my front runner for entrance theme. I wish I had, just so I could stop and theatrically spread my arms.
I thought that Hideo Itami would be the wrestler that I wanted to be up on the main card the most at this point, but it's Finn Balor. Like, I can't, like, if he just came out to the main event of Raw and just did like even like tonight's intro, like, that would be amazing. And it's so easy and like cheap. You don't have to do any pyrotechnics, but then you fucking add pyrotechnics to fucking Finn Balor's intro.
Dude, some flames or something. Oh, man.
Easily flames.
What if he had Bailey's inflatable handmans?
Wacky wailing inflatable flailing tubeman.
What if he had Al Snow's head?
Imagine
What does everybody want?
But what if he had the Bailey things, but they only came up during the brrrah, and they all go up and then they go down?
That would be awesome.
They're all black, though, and evil.
Finn Balor kicks Neville through the barricade.
You know what I thought was interesting about this is, like, I was really looking forward to this match, and both these guys are amazing. But I feel like the earlier matches were all warm-up matches for these last three, and this one was still semi a warm-up. Like, I liked it, but I liked the last two matches so much that this still was like a build-up.
We're getting Neville and Balor before one of the probably the best women's match I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And basically what ends up happening is we get a holy shit chant after that. After 2 red arrows, Balor kicks out at 2.8. And you remember that, of course. And what ends up happening is after he kicks out, they sort of have an exchange. And Balor puts Neville down, jumps up to the top rope, and does his double stomp.
Yeah, the coup de grace. Yeah, so the coup de grace, not a great finisher, really, but he did it off Adrian Neville's head while Adrian was standing up, and then it was great.
I felt it to be really nice that I spelled coup de grace real. It's COUP.
That's correct. Ooh
But
la la.
Finn Balor It's the number one contender for the NXT championship. And that's going to come into play a lot more prevalent.
How's he gonna beat Sami Zayn? It's gonna be tough.
I know, right?
When does this match happen? Is it at NXT next week on Wednesday?
NXT,
Or the next takeover?
Yeah, I assume
Rival.
I assume they're saving it for the next big show probably, but they haven't said yet. So Balor wins with his coup de grace. And,
The following contest is scheduled for one fall. The following contestants in this match are Bayley, Becky
I don't know her
Lynch,
music.
Sasha Banks, and your champion, Charlotte Flair.
Wasn't it nice too to have Charlotte come to the ring without her dad with her for once?
That only happened in that one pay-per-view I made you watch, that you asked me to make you watch.
I don't know. I feel like I've seen her hanging out with Ric Flair too many times.
I talked about
She
how
didn't even woo, did she? I don't think
No.
so. I feel like she's moving away.
she did
from
a
that
lot of
role.
Flair things. She did the into the ropes and
flying turnbuckled flippy thing, whatever that's called.
Yeah, it's cool. She's doing like the deep down genetic Flair stuff, less than just the surfacey Flair.
But
Well,
she does the slap sometimes. She didn't. I don't think she did today.
the best part about Ric Flair is the slap. I talked about how I wrote the names down about the women in this match more than I cared about any of the other matches. And that's something that we have to focus on. The fact that the women's match held ground.
Yeah, I mean, you knew all their names, which is more than we could say for Blake Lively.
No, it's crazy. Blake Lively wasn't even in this match. Like, and I think that's the downfall of NXT. If there's any downfall, I don't think there can be any downfall. But what ends up happening is there's a slam to the outside of the ring onto the apron, which turns the LCD off.
Oh yeah. You know what I think is interesting too with the women stuff in NXT is everyone's like, oh, Charlotte Flair, yeah, she's fucking Flair's kid and stuff, and she's gonna go to Raw, blah blah blah. But everyone else was at least as good as her, and maybe better.
Yeah, no, Charlotte Flair is the breakout superstar in this match. But the thing is about Sasha Banks, like Sasha Banks has been literally, like, if you've been watching NXT, you've been seeing her fight and goad for this title so hard. And it's unfortunate that Becky Lynch is a tertiary factor in this matchup, but Becky Lynch is fucking phenomenal. You know, I always thought it'd be funny if she was just paired up with Sheamus. You know, like just a couple Irish people being like white skin, but they put a spray tan on Becky Lynch, and now Corey Graves has been, hey, she's like a poser. She always puts up the devil horns at the most inappropriate times, and I think that's stupid.
Even though his name is obviously based off Michael Graves of the Misfits.
He clearly thinks he's the Misfits.
Yeah.
So at any rate, Lynch and Banks, they try to do some sort of double maneuver together. Oh, the double pin, which do you remember that?
Right.
They tried to pin at the same time.
And the ref was like, whoa.
Oh, that's ridiculous. You can't pin at the same time. So Lynch ends up turning on Banks. I thought it was fun that they had red, purple, black, and yellow hair individually. I thought that was the thing that I thought.
Beautiful spectrum.
Yep.
But I mean, that might have been like Sasha Banks doesn't usually have purple hair, right? So that was sort of deliberate
I guess so.
to be like cool, have cool hair.
Or just maybe so people could tell them apart.
But I think at the end of the day, it was really interesting to see, like, hot babes doing correct wrestling maneuvers.
It's cool too because like one of my cousins, I have like 80 cousins. It's insane, but maybe not that many. But one of my cousins used to be big into wrestling. I don't know if she still watches it, but I just love this idea that she could be watching NXT and like have actual cool wrestlers that she can look up to that don't have to do gravy bowl matches. and shit.
Oddly enough, as somebody that doesn't have a lot of like nieces or nephews or even like younger cousins, I always think like, what are the kids looking at? And I always like SpongeBob and Adventure Time sort of come to mind. I wish that kids were watching NXT and seeing the women's division in NXT. And
I really do wish I could watch wrestling when I babysit so much. Their mom would hate it.
So then there was that spot where basically what ends up happening is Banks puts Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair like into the ropes, like in between the top and middle turnbuckle and the middle and lower turnbuckle. And do you remember this spot?
Right.
And she gets up on the top and sort of does like a karate like chop like through both of them with her knees, and I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, and even like if the actual execution wasn't the greatest, the setup was cool.
Yeah, no, it's great to see something like that felt new.
Yeah.
Like that felt like something that was very new.
I'm still amazed whenever something like that happens. Like that weird thing Sami Zayn does where he dives through the corner of the ring and does a fucking whatever, like a neck breaker
Which
or whatever.
he didn't do.
He didn't. But I
that
just
match.
love when anyone thinks of a new move in wrestling. I'm like, this is amazing. There's already 600,000 wrestling moves and somehow someone thought of a new one.
Yeah.
It impresses me.
So basically, what ends up happening after that is Charlotte does a flying crossbody, and then the ink was sort of ripped through, and I can't read what any of that says.
It was a cool match too because like it seems like Becky Lynch hasn't gotten a ton of ring time, and but somehow once this match got going, it did seem like any of them really kind of
There was a belly to Bailey from the top rope as well, in all of that.
Actually, it's a Bailey to belly.
Fuck.
I do feel like I was just saying like, oh, how nice that there's like female wrestlers and they don't have to be objectified and stuff. But now I'm just gonna go the other way. Even though Becky Lynch is the chick I think is like the super hot one, even though Bailey I don't think is as hot, I would so happily still just like date her because she's a cool wrestler.
Yeah, she's real nice.
Yeah.
She seems like a nice, like cool, like goes to shows chick, like a scene chick, like she's like, you know.
I think I just want to date a wrestler. I'm gonna start.
I know, like sometimes, like
I mean,
there's
preferably a lady, but there's a lot more male wrestlers.
sometimes there's women in this world and they just throw up the devil horns and it's totally inappropriate. Like, and sometimes like they wear like the band shirts of their favorite band to shows that they're going to, and it's totally inappropriate.
Well, that's the thing, and Becky Lynch is just the way it was framed when her entrance thing was starting, and you could only see the end of Becky, so it looked like it said CKY. So I thought they were doing that. I thought they were going to show like 12 inches of blood and just all these different band
Bam
names.
Margera just comes out.
Drowning Pool.
We're gonna wake Phil up at the ass crack of dawn. So anyway, let's just get to the finish of this match. Sasha Banks basically puts Charlotte Flair in the fucking like cross face, like the cross face crippler. She doesn't hook the arm, but it's still basically like the cross face, but it's not connected to anything. So she pulls back on it, and of course Charlotte gets the rope. Charlotte loses the rope because Sasha Banks pulls her back and really dominates. And the thing that I found funny about all of this is when I feel like Sasha Banks got bored of holding that finish, and this is something we saw a lot tonight on this pay-per-view, like going against the grain. The new Dusty finish, I think, might be the H finish, the Triple H finish, and it's like put a spin on it. Sasha Banks just rolls Charlotte up and just gets the W. She bags the W right there.
Yeah, I loved that ending because like I like submission moves in theory, but like they in reality or in fucking what's that thing where people really fight that CM Punk's in?
Like mixed martial arts.
Yeah, like you get a submission hold on and it's over. So it's a little weird in WWE where those just go on and on and on, and it does get boring. And I'm trying to suspend disbelief, but it's hard. So I liked that Sasha Banks, she just ratcheted it up like crazy, and then still was like, you know what, fuck this, and just rolled her up.
Yep. You won't see any finish like any of the finishes. Even the basic bitch finishes we saw on this card, you won't see that on Raw. You won't see that on SmackDown even. And what I've been thinking about SmackDown, I'm just going to sort of tangent. What if we're missing out on things on SmackDown? Like,
Well,
what if?
Sometimes, I mean, I know because I'm such a huge Bray Wyatt fan, like I'll hear like, oh, he was on SmackDown and he said a bunch of cool shit, but I'm like, it's not enough.
And that happened with me when CM Punk like didn't go on SmackDown for ages, and then when he was feuding with The Rock, he showed up on SmackDown a couple times to do some vignettes, and how they promote like, oh, John Cena on SmackDown this week. That seems crazy to me, but I guess we're at an impasse on the fact that wrestling may or may not be staged.
Okay. The jury's still out.
The following contest is scheduled for one fall, and it's for the NXT Championship.
Bing, bing.
Introducing first. He is from Maryville,
This really fucked us. We were like, where is he built from? Like, we knew it was gonna be.
It's Maryville, Quebec.
It's Marquis of Maryville rules for this match because they're both from Quebec.
And his opponent.
But trying to go back on the network to see where he was from, that fucked us because we never got full resolution again from.
No, it's true. It's true. They barely said Maryville, and I don't even think did I even write that down properly.
But what I liked it in a way of seeing the main event at like 480p or whatever is it did kind of feel like it was a weird cassette that someone lent us that had been taped 8 times.
A weird cassette. That's amazing.
A VCR tape.
Kevin Owens and his opponent, Ole, from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. He is Sami Zayn.
And we got to see right before he came out and did his happy skank, we got to see the true Sammy backstage. Really, we saw the actual fear in his heart that was not a real dance. He was terrified.
Yeah.
He knew it was all coming to an end soon.
I'm sure you have more to say about it.
About his dance?
About his dance.
I liked it. It's just called the skank.
Yeah, it's like a mosh move.
Yeah. I like that. They did it for Kevin Owens too, where they show him behind backstage, like right before he's about to go. It reminds me of. Do you remember that movie, Major League?
Very vaguely.
When they play the Wild Thing song, and they're like, and then he walks in. Yeah.
Charlie Sheen was like, "I'm a baseball player."
Yeah.
Duh, winning.
And that's the memorable. Like if you go on IMDb, that's the quote of the movie is, "I'm a baseball player."
Charlie Sheen, duh, winning. So basically, like, we watched this match.
Oh yeah, so what was cool about this is by accident, me and Jason both got spoiled on who was going to win. And that's how great this was, is that didn't matter. It was still super amazing, and it still ended in a way we didn't expect.
That we were so, like, bummed out by finding out who won. I was, like, were you, like, did you get physically a little bit sick?
Well,
in your soul, like just a little bit. I know, like maybe I might be a bigger wrestling fan, but
I guess I didn't because
I know you were a pretty big wrestling fan, and like you had to have seen the winner and been like, "Fuck!" Like,
well, not so much in this case because I really do enjoy watching the matches on NXT way more than I do in even like a WWE pay-per-view. But it was mostly because that SummerSlam match with Cena and Brock, I was like, oh man, like I love matches like this where there's no way either guy can lose. Like that rarely happens. Like Austin and The Rock is like one of those things. So I basically didn't go on the internet just to make sure I didn't get that spoiled for me. And I just wasn't willing to put that much dedication into this. I was like, I'm going to stay on the internet today, and if I see it, I see it. So I accept it already, even before I saw it.
Yeah, but I
made my peace.
I experienced it way late.
Yeah.
It was
you almost made it. It was like 6 p.m. today.
Yeah, it was about 6 p.m. and I was like, oh, let's check Facebook for the umpteenth time today. There's no way that anybody could possibly spoil it for me, even though I've been avoiding it all day. And then I subscribed to this history of wrestling fucking bullshit Facebook group.
The immediate history of wrestling was, here's what happened yesterday.
Yes, and it was totally stupid, and it sucked, and it was just...
It's the history of wrestling going backwards.
It warned me too. There were 2 spoiler tags. And I was like, I read spoiler, and I was like, oh, what's the worst thing that could happen? I scrolled down, and I looked down at the bottom, and I read the text at the bottom that said, Kevin Owens wins. Oh, that's spoilers for all you fucking people listening right now. If you got all the way to here and you don't just listen to the rest, then that's on you.
The only thing you're spoiling is the rest of this podcast.
Yeah.
You know what I was proud of, though, is that we managed not to spoil it for Mike.
Yeah.
We made it.
I kind of figured it out because Keith said, like, when you were telling me, Keith was like, oh, I saw the picture. Like, I saw it in a picture.
Right.
And I was like, well, what picture could you possibly have seen if Sami Zayn won? Like, him holding the belt?
Yeah,
like, that picture could have been from anything.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
So that thought crossed my mind. But then when he... Oh, I guess you'll get to it. But when he won in the way he did, I was like, something's got to happen. But it didn't. He just won like that. I've never seen a win like that before.
Yeah, so I mean, it does kind of tie into like that. I brought up the Brock Lesnar versus John Cena SummerSlam match because it was kind of like that. It was just a crushing, but it was a way better crushing.
Well, what would end up happening is Owens, like, you guys, especially Keith, kept being like, I don't think Zayn's gotten any offense in this entire match. And I'm sitting here watching this match, and I wasn't really noticing it because they do have back and forth in NXT, but they don't have one of those clear and like far above and away like squash matches. But you're right, Sami Zayn really got no offense in.
A few things here and there, but yeah, it was mostly a crushing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they do have Baron Corbin, but he is almost like he's like an Undertaker weird cartoon man.
I think Baron Corbin is they're gonna just put the Undertaker gimmick on him. Right. But
where this was like a legit, just like this guy just got beat up.
Kevin Owens just starts power bombing Sami Zayn,
and like they weren't just like power bombs like you see on Raw. They were like fucking power bombs.
So Mike, I sort of created a Rorschach painting for you.
Oh, okay, great.
I do. Oh, I love this page of the notes. This is great.
So I gave up on taking notes in this match because like it was a really good match. And I didn't want to really spoil it either way. But it's a Rorschach painting, sort of interpretation. What do you see?
It says KO.
Giant
It says
letters.
7 Queens was titled by KO, and it says that was awesome.
7 Queens is Kevin Owens.
Oh.
So close. But yeah, just basically, 2/3 of this page is giant, just KO.
So for the first time ever in the history of professional wrestling...
Oh, I never put that together. KO won by KO.
So for the first time ever in professional wrestling, we saw Kevin Owens win a match so hard and win so greatly that he literally bested Sami Zayn to the point that the referee called the match and awarded the NXT championship to Kevin Owens. I've never seen that in wrestling. I've only seen that in boxing and pride fighting and MMA.
The schoolyard, am I right? Schoolyard belt.
you
Jason's the winner.
Do you want to fight Anderson Silva? Like, is that what you want?
I want to fight Anderson Cooper.
But yeah, it's great too because like Sami Zayn is better as an underdog anyway. So I mean, fuck it, why not? But he is, I don't know. I want to go look up like if he didn't have a concussion, he is amazing at selling. He looked so fucked up. His eyes were glassy. It's like he didn't know where he was.
I really want to put this over as the best wrestling championship finish I've ever seen. Could you imagine if in 1997 Stone Cold Steve Austin beat up The Rock so hard that Stone Cold Steve Austin won the title because he beat up The Rock so hard?
Yeah, like is this? I mean, it must have happened somewhere in wrestling history, but I've sure never seen it.
I think this is setting a precedent for professional wrestling for the future, and I think that the wrestling pundit, like internet wrestling community view that 5 years from now NXT is going to be its own like product. I think they're going down the right road because this pay-per-view was the most interesting wrestling I've watched since the last time I watched an NXT pay-per-view.
I know, right? It's true.
And it was called Rival, and every match on this, everybody was rivals. I know it was stupid they covered up AR with NXT, but this was one of the best finishes. Like, we're not
And
sitting here...
This includes Super Brawl Revenge, too.
It's true. And Super Brawl Revenge had the best... God damn, you just scrambled my entire mind. Say something stupid, Keith.
What do you think the next one will be? NXT RV?
It'll be NXT
Val Venus?
T over.
It's one of those for sure. But yeah, I wonder if that'll be like Kevin Owens, like, I need 5. It's like he won't ever bother pinning people. He just beat the shit out of them every time.
You can only go downhill by going to Raw, I think is the...
Yeah, I really do feel like...
period I want to put on all of this.
Yeah, like there's some guys, like I think Soft would do good on Raw. I think Finn Balor would do good on Raw. But especially with this recent batch of people not really catching on Raw, I feel like if they want NXT to be its own brand and to be its own thing that can stand on its own, having Kevin Owens as champ, as a weird Brock Lesnar-y guy who just beats the shit out of everyone, is perfect. Like, yeah, keep him here, keep him the monster guy, and do it. Just start building this shit.
To go back to WWE, it's so frustrating to see somebody as good as Seth Rollins be the top guy, but really not reaching his potential because of the fact that Roman Reigns is the top guy that they want to push, and then you have people like Daniel Bryan just sort of fading into obscurity. But is he based on kayfabe, based on fucking reality kayfabe? And then, but those guys, at least they got it made. They're the top guys. What do we do with people who are legitimate talents on the lower part of the card?
Yeah, it's weird too. Like, I don't know, there's just something about Raw and SmackDown. Like, I kind of felt for old Triple H. One thing he said in his interview with Stone Cold was like, he's like, God, I kind of do wish Raw was only 2 hours.
1, 2, the sun.
Because he's like 3 hours of writing every week. It's crazy, and it really is. Like, I feel like that makes it hard to commit to an idea. Like, even Brock Lesnar, I don't think they would have committed if that guy was willing to be on TV more often. It's only because they just didn't have time with him.
Do you think it just has to do with the booking? Like, Triple H seems to have control over NXT, and it's great. And I think Vince is just a crazy old man who's out of touch and has the final say over everything that happens on Raw. And I feel like that's a lot to do with why it's kind of shitty.
Yeah, it's really weird that it's like, it was always like, oh man, who's gonna get called up, and it'll be so great for them when they go up to Raw. And I really do feel the other way now. I'm like, man, Adrian Neville should just stay there. No one should stay there. Everyone should just stay where they are.
That's why my backing is going towards keep NXT its own brand, and don't I think we even saw that tonight. This is what I wanted to talk about originally. The fact that Kevin Owens won the title, and he's going to have a program with Sami Zayn, that sort of goes back to the whole like old school, like the person that loses the title is supposed to get into a feud with the person that he won it from, and vice versa. So I hope that we get Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens for too much time, like so far that we get bored of them fighting each other.
Oh, that's
because
like, man, so like Zayn is so over that like when they did show like reactions of people in the crowd, like what is even happening? Like it seems semi legit of these. I mean, they're super marks anyway at Full Sail, but just like upset and stuff. So imagine if at the next big event and the next big event, it's Owens versus Zayn, and he gets beat up worse every time. I'm curious, like I just can't imagine a world where Sami Zayn's not over. Would this make him more over every time?
I believe what you're saying is going to sort of be the norm because of the fact that Triple H is clearly running NXT, and he's sort of making it like a parody of what WWE is. But instead of it being a parody, like a literally like, oh, like let's lampoon, like being like, Vince, this is what we should be doing. And then Raw, clearly still run by Vince and his old school ideas and values, you still have just like, oh, all these matches that don't matter on the scale that doesn't matter, and then the main event is going to be thrown out in some sort of schmoz.
Oh yeah, even that I mentioned that during NXT, but that's another.
There was no schmoz on this card.
Yeah, no run-ins, no weird shit.
No,
that's just nice. Yeah, like I mean, they only have 2 hours, but still, they could easily throw in all this shit.
They got more done in 2 hours than the last 9 hours of Raw.
But I really hope that it gets to a point where Sami Zayn is like, I want one more chance, and instead of people cheering, they're just like, don't, please don't, please stop.
That's an amazing gimmick idea. Yeah. That's gimmick infringement from a future superstar.
All right, well, we did it, and it's only 2:45 in the morning.
You're goddamn right.
Aren't you glad you joined us, Michael, since you do have to work tomorrow?
Yeah, I'll be fine.
Sweet.
My name is Jason Phillips, and you can find me on @SpiderHero on Twitter and /SpiderHero on Facebook. You can also find me working. Say something stupid, Keith.
Where can we find you, Mike?
You can find me at
in the club.
You can find me at Starbucks. I'll be the guy with the computer laptop machine.
I love it.
Oh, and niceguyscomedy.com.
And KeithCourage.com. You can find all this stuff.
Do it over.
No, that was good.
What's Guys Comedy?
You can find me at 20,000 Extreme.
You can find me in the club. KeithCourage.com, you sons of bitches. Listen to that shit. Look, let's do a secret message. If anybody gets this far into the pay-per-view fucking podcast, I think that's what they're called.
I hear there's a lot of people that don't even watch the pay-per-views. They prefer just to hear our version.
I think there's a lot of people that don't listen to this podcast. So, I mean...
There's at least one.
Who dat?
I don't know.
Din,
I
din,
think
din.
he lives in
din,
Norway, though.
Din, 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 din. First things first, I'm a craftsman. Remodeling's my only passion.
I was thinking today about how there's a lot of songs, like Sami Zayn's song. It could easily have lyrics sung by HBK.
It's literally a fucking Mighty Mighty Bass Tones theme.
I never that one would. What are we doing?
Hey man, you're the one holding the thing.
All right, thank you for listening.
Good night. I love you.
I was trying to do Never Knock on Wood, but to the tune of Sami Zayn. I'm like, this is not even remotely possible.
This is the official end. Oh, fuck. Mike, do some of your comedy shit real quick. Do like 10 minutes.
Just a lean.
What's the deal with pentagrams? Guess like you got pants and pentagrams.
Pantygrams? Did you just make that up? Like a panty delivery service?
No, you made up pantygrams. I said
It's better than what you
No,
made.
I said no. It's not better or worse. I said pentagrams. Fucking asshole. You dick. D-U bitch. You're such a bitch.
Everything is everything, right? No idea is better.
All the ideas are better than one another, brother.
And now let's serenade everyone, as we promised hours ago, with Baron Corbin's theme song.
Far,
Never have to walk on wood.
wherever you are, the thing where it's the never.